All right, I'm done with the MCU. I can't watch any more movies. I'm done. But it's not what you guys think it is. Before you roll your eyes and cross your arms and start to assume that I'm one of these MCU trolls who are trying to bash the movie for clickbait and try to join on this wave of Marvel hate, that's not what it is. I don't hate Marvel, all right? I just have some issues with it. I'm one of the biggest Marvel fans you're probably going to see, right? And just because I don't like the MCU right now and I don't plan to watch anything else, I'm not going to be one of these people who are going to try to tell you that those movies suck and you suck for liking the movie. If you like those movies, enjoy it. I'm happy for you. I won't try to change your mind and take it away from you. But for me, I will explain to you why I'm done with the MCU. And it's not specifically what you think it is, but we'll get into it, right? Before we get started, I got to do my intro. Welcome to the Hear These Thoughts YouTube channel hosted by your boy Preston. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell next to it to get an update every time I upload a video so you can join the conversation. I'm giving you a free VIP ticket to be in the comment section and have these conversations with me so we can talk about these things. All mentalities, all ideas, all opinions are welcome. As long as we keep it clean. I love hearing opposite opinions. I don't know why I said mentalities, but let's get into it. All right. So, Preston, why are you no longer watching the MCU? Why are you done? So, let me just preface it by saying this. I've been the biggest fan of the MCU since the inception of it, especially up into the Infinity War. I've been a big fan of Marvel since I was a kid. I've always loved Wolverine, Spider-Man, Punisher. Have always been like my biggest and favorite superheroes, whether you regard to Punisher as a superhero or not. I'm just gonna call him that because he's part of Marvel. All right, I know he's not. Now, the reason why I'm not watching any more Marvel movies, it's not because of what you guys think, right? And even though these things do play a role into why I'm not watching anymore, but it's not specifically for those things. I know people have stopped watching Marvel and probably talk bad about Marvel because of it being woke, because the pandering to the feminists, or pandering to people of the LGBTQ community, or pandering to people who are, I guess, obsessed with diversity, for lack of a better term. I don't know what other term to use for that. Or for people who just want to see something different, or some people who just want to go in and just change. There's some people who just want to change stuff. Like, I got the power to change how things are and piss people off, so I want to do it. It's not for those reasons, but those things do play a little role into it. It plays a little role into it, but it's not the main reason why I'm going to step back from the MCU, right? Now, when it comes to the recent phase, I'm one of the biggest MCU fans, and one of the reasons why I loved the MCU so much when it first came out is because they took characters that I did not care about, that I did not like, and made me care and like and invest into them. When a movie does that, they got me. It don't take much but to do that. I never cared about Iron Man. I never cared about Thor. I never cared about Captain America. But guess what? Now I love these characters, and especially Captain America and Iron Man. They're part of the top 6 of my favorite movies in the MCU, especially Captain America. And I miss the Russo brothers. I miss them. I wish they would come back and make another movie. But my problem now lies within the writing. The writing in the Phase 4, and I'm not a crybaby like, oh, they didn't write these things like I want them to write, so I can't watch this stuff anymore. It's just a thing where it's like, you start to understand what direction some place is going to go, because Marvel have had some bad movies in the past. Not every movie has been perfect. We can think of Thor: The Dark World. We can think of Iron Man 2, which I don't think it was that bad, but it wasn't that great. But there were like peaks. There were like peaks and valleys. But with the Phase 4, it feels like that there is a consistent trend of having some bad writing in these movies, and it seems like they're okay with it, because as long as they make money, then they're absolutely fine. Which is pretty much the point of a movie studio, is to try to make money, anything else. But it feels like that they don't care about that part of it, right? So if we talk about the most recent movies, we could talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We could talk about Thor and Love and Thunder. We could talk about the new Spider-Man movie. Even though that movie was very entertaining, I love the nostalgia factor. I love the comedy. I love the concept. I loved all of that. Like, I really loved it all. But the problem with all three of those movies is the writing. So many plot holes, right? Again, I'm not out here trying to go to the MCU and try to see Citizen Kane. I'm not going to the MCU to try to see the best movie I've ever seen in my life. But the fact is, the MCU has the potential of even getting close to doing something like that because they've done it before. I'm not asking them to do anything they've never done before. It'd be different if it was in reverse. If I knew the movies were going to be bad, then I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. And every movie that I go to doesn't have to have amazing writing. I have guilty pleasure movies like Fast and the Furious. The writing on there is trash, but I go in there trying to get an action fix and get up out of there. Like I knew that's going to be the case. I know after Tokyo Drift, as far as the storyline goes, which Fast and the Furious 5 is my favorite one, but I understand that the writing isn't going to be great. But I just go in there for just stupid action, and then I go home. That's all I get. With Marvel, the difference between them and the Fast and the Furious franchise, you can say that, they started off with pretty decent writing in Fast and the Furious in the first three movies. It was more grounded. That's really what it was. And then over time they got a little crazy. Marvel went through the first four phases with pretty good writing, or first three phases, I'm sorry, with pretty good writing. In this phase, it seems like they don't care, right? And again, it's not even just about the social justice stuff, because like I just named, the Spider-Man movie, the Doctor Strange movie, and Thor Love and Thunder, not so much. They're not really trying to promote those things. When you watch the movie, you don't get that type of feel from it, like they're pandering to a certain group of people. But even without that, the writing is bad. Like, the writing isn't that great. There's so many plot holes. And if we move Spider-Man to the side, the other two movies, there's just so many things wrong with it. And I get it that Multiverse of Madness, there's some scenes that were cut out and so on and so forth. But this isn't Marvel's first rodeo when it comes to making movies. They should already have this part of it down packed. Not perfected, but have it down packed. But they didn't. So then these other films that promote these different things like diversity and sexuality and race and gender swaps and stuff like that, I see what they do. They write a bad movie and they try to cover it with those things as if we don't see it. It's almost like a shield to try to protect it. So then the fans of the movie, but also who belong in this sector of people, this group that they're trying to like pander to, it seems to be, they're defending on the behalf of it. Right? It's almost like if I was outside and I'm not good at baking cookies and my cookies are burnt or whatever, and I make cookies pink and I'm like, yo, you know what? These are to donate towards people who are dealing with breast cancer. This is for breast cancer awareness, right? If somebody walks past and is like, I'm not buying that cookie, it's nasty. So my response could be, oh, well, you don't like people who are dealing with breast cancer, and prayers out to people who are dealing with that and I have friends who have that. I'm not trying to make this into like something less serious than what it is. But what I'm saying is that they're trying to use that as a band-aid. But for me, I can see past that. I can see past nostalgia. I can see past all of that stuff and see the bad writing behind it. And that's what I've been noticing. That's what I've been experiencing. And it seems to be that where they were before in the previous phases, they're not there anymore. The other reason why that I'm done with the MCU is because some of the characters that they're picking, right? And again, I'm not having to fit like, oh my god, man, they're not picking my favorite characters. What are they doing? I don't want to watch this. It's not that. It's the characters they're picking are characters that I read comic books of before they were even appeared in the MCU and before they even announced that they were coming out with these characters in the MCU. When I read their stories, their comic books weren't that great. Whether we're talking about Ironheart or American Chavez, or we're talking about Jane Foster's Thor, or the list Miss Marvel, the list goes on. And the comics were bad, but again, Marvel has the capability and has done it. They've taken characters that I didn't like or care for and made me care about it. But you're talking about taking new characters that I didn't care about in the comic books, but also combining them with bad writers. So I'm like, I'm not even gonna walk into that. The other thing too, on top of that, is I'm not a big fan of time traveling and multiverses unless they're done right. Now, the reason why I don't care about those two, so you have a combination of characters that I don't really care for, writers that I feel like I can't really trust in, trying to develop these characters and develop the characters that I do care about in the future. On top of it, you have time travel and you have multiverses. And in some cases, there have been interesting stories when it comes to multiverses. But the problem is with multiverses and time traveling, whether it be some movies and majority of comic books, it feels like decisions are inconsequential. It feels like when things happen, they're not finite. Like if someone dies, it's hard to believe that they're gone. It's because some way, some fashion, they're like, oh, this person has died. We're gonna find this way and bring them back. We're gonna find this way and bring them back. They're not really dead. They're back again. They're back. So it doesn't feel like anything is finite. And once people die and you bring them back, or once you do something where it feels like that they can come back at any time, it's hard to believe the tension behind certain decisions that they have to make. Like if they're in a situation that might cost them their life, in that moment they'd be like, "Oh wow!" But it's like they can bring them back. They're alive somewhere in some other universe. I mean, they just jump from universe to universe in the multiverse of madness. And even in that movie, right? And I'm gonna jump into the writing. Even with the character development, I felt like that instead of Moon Knight coming out, they should have did an American Chavez show, put her in the multiverse of madness, and then did the Moon Knight, because we don't know much about American Chavez outside of the fact that she likes jean jackets and she has the power to jump through dimension, and her parents are have a same-sex relationship. That's all we know about her. Outside of that, she was just a person to push the plot forward. That's all she was there for. But she's one of the main characters too. That don't even look like American Chavez, but that's a whole nother problem in itself. But again, with the multiverses and time travel, it takes away from me believing that there's consequences to the things they're going to do, which in the first phase, we didn't have that. That added to the tension, that added to the decisions that were being made, that made Infinity War, everything that happened in that movie, that much more massive and that much more effective, because you're like, we didn't think about the fact that these people could come back. And that's why I feel like the Infinity War movie itself is like not only just one of the best superhero movies, but a great movie in itself, because it had so many it had not just the great writing, but it had so many different levels of emotion. You laughed in the movie from the jokes. The jokes were well timed. Excuse me. And we can't say that about these recent movies, especially Thor: Love and Thunder. The jokes and stuff, and even Black Widow, they're like badly paced. Like in the moments that's supposed to be serious, they throw these little jokes in there that are corny, and it takes away from you sitting in the emotion of that moment. Whereas opposed to like if you watch Infinity War, every moment that was sad, they made you sit in it. The moment where Spider-Man disappeared and he said, "Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good," they made you sit in that emotion for a while, which made that movie an amazing movie, because you went through a roller coaster of emotion. You laughed, you were entertained, you were happy, you were sad. A lot of people in the theater cried. A lot of people in the theater, like, it's so many different emotions, but it's hard to feel that when it feels like certain things that are happening won't be finite. You know, it feels like that those things won't be, the end of whatever it is. So you have that on top of it. So that, and I'm scared of what they're going to do with Blade because of the writers. It's just so many things that I can't watch the MCU for anymore. And again, I'm not pissed off. I'm not upset. I'm not going to convince you not to watch it. If you love the MCU, that's your thing. But for me, until I feel like that there's something convincing me to watch it. I mean, you can watch the movie The Eternals. Like, watch The Eternals. That's all you really have to know. Until there's something that they're going to show me that convinces me to be like, hey, I might want to watch it, I think I'm cool. I didn't like What If. What If was one of my favorite comic series from the Marvel Comics. Like, one of my favorite. Right? And again, I understand, I said I'm not a big fan of multiverses, but I just thought that was like more like a fun gag comic, or like, oh, what if this happened? What if this happened? It wasn't anything that affected anything. It was just whatever that was, But even What If, you could do whatever you want with What If. And even that series wasn't that great. You had nothing you had to tie it to. You had nothing that you had to continue like some type of continuity with. You could do whatever you want, and you still blew that. So it's just like, I'm going to leave it for who it's for. If you're interested in those things, then that's for you. For me, I'm not going to make these videos where I'm bashing it and being upset about it. It's just not for me. What's the point, right? So that's what it is. Hopefully that's clear. Does that make me a hater? Let me know in the comment section. Do you guys agree or disagree? And I'm pretty sure I said some things probably wrong. Maybe I did, because I'm just saying this off the top of my head. I didn't write any of this down. But please give me a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys watch it? Are you guys going to continue to watch it? You guys let me know. I appreciate it. You guys have a good day. Salute. Peace.